What's up, internet? Today we're going to talk about the Harbor Freight bike lift. As you can see, we got the Hayabusa up there. It is the biggest, heaviest bike I have, so I figured let's get that sucker up there and see how it works. I'll walk you through that, but first let's focus on the bike lift itself, installation, how everything kind of comes together. It's heavy. You're going to need some frames. Installation is pretty simple. The thing comes around 85% completely installed, so you're really just kind of finishing up that last 15%, which is mostly like wheels and the tailgate, a couple of handles. That's about it. Obviously, the lift is not up. It's going to be collapsed all the way down when you receive it in the crate. And so once you get her pulled out of the crate, the first thing you're going to do is put the rear wheels on. So you're going to have to take like a 4x4, lift the rear up, prop it up on the 4x4, and then these wheels just slide on. The axles are already pre-greased, at least they were in my case. You slide a washer on and a cotter pin. That's it. So moving to the front, you're going to jack or lift the front of the lift up by screwing these counterclockwise as they go down and against the concrete floor. The lift's going to come up. That gives you clearance to install these front casters. So 4 nuts and bolts, and that's it. Once you've got the front casters on, the lift actually moves around quite easily. The front casters rotate 360 degrees, so it's really easy to maneuver the lift at that point. The next thing you're going to do is install this access panel plate, which is really just there to be able to work on the hydraulics if you ever need to. I haven't had to touch them so far, so that's good. After you install the access plate, you'll install this tailgate, which is your ramp for loading bikes on. There's a pin right here, and then there's a little cotter key and a washer underneath, one on each side. Pretty simple stuff. Once you've got the access panel and the tailgate installed, next thing you want to do is install this stop plate. There's 2 bolts right here, and there's a nice slit on both sides so you can actually slide this forward and backwards for adjustment. There's also 2 holes here. I'm sorry, 3 holes and 3 holes on this side to install a wheel vise, which I have opted not to do, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. I think last but not least are these U-bolt hooks, and these are great for adding some stability. So I could, for example, use the passenger peg mounts to add some extra stability. Just like that. I decided to install a set of U-bolts on the front as well. It only comes with 1 pair for the center. It's pre-drilled. You just have to install the U-bolts. Super, super simple. But I installed another set of U-bolts on the front, mainly because that's how I like to tie down my dirt bikes, just like I do when I put them in the back of the truck, go out to the track. You basically just roll them up to the back of the bed, which is like your stop, and then two tie-down straps to hooks, and away you go. That's just how I've done it forever. So it makes sense to me to do it that way, and that's why I didn't install the wheel vise. However, it does come with a wheel vise, and you can choose to install that. So the actual last steps the instructions tell you to do is install the foot lift pedal and the foot release pedal, which you can't see. They're out of frame in the camera, but they're down here, trust me. There's no pictures for doing that, but it's actually stupid simple because you can always look at the front, and so your lift pedals are right here, 1 to release, 1 to lift the lift up. And you don't need any tools. They just kind of slide onto the ends that are on the lift itself. And they're 2 different sizes, so you can't mix them up. There's also a safety bar, and the safety bar has 2 different holes, so you can lock the safety bar in at 2 different heights. So if you lose hydraulic pressure, that prevents the lift from collapsing down on anything underneath it. So, all right, so real quick, let's just talk about my first impressions of this lift. They are very good. The lift works well. It's easy to install. Like I said, it comes kind of 85%. It's freaking heavy. So man, like I said, you're gonna need some buds. You're gonna need some friends. But once you get the wheels on, moves around nice and easy. The first time I tried to pump the hydraulics to get the lift up, it took like, I don't know, maybe 10 pumps. It didn't want to come up. And I was like looking through the manual to see how to check the hydraulic fluid levels and all that kind of stuff. So, but if you just keep pumping, I think like on maybe like pump 12 or something like that, it started to move and it's been solid since. So that's just a quick heads up. Let's talk about why I didn't install the wheel vise, right? So basically it sits right here and it clamps against both sides of the wheel. And that kind of just gives the bike some stability while it's on the lift. And I will admit that would be nice if you are loading the bike onto the lift by yourself, especially a big heavy street bike. In the grand scheme of things, a Hayabusa is not even a big heavy street bike. A street glide would be a big heavy street bike. But in the context of sport bikes, the Hayabusa is on the heavier side. Dirt bikes are pretty simple. So I would roll my dirt bike up here. Dirt bikes have triangle stands. They don't have kickstands. I mean, they can have kickstands, but motocross bikes don't have kickstands. Like enduro bikes will have kickstands. Off-road might have kickstands, but my motocross bikes don't have kickstands. So you have a triangle stand. It's literally a triangle and it sticks right into the rear axle, and that fits on the lift just fine. So you can just roll it up, put your triangle stand, and the bike just sits there. And then you could do your front tie downs. And if you were to do front end work, you need to pull the wheel. You're not going to use tie downs, obviously. For a motocross bike, you have a center stand, fits right underneath the frame, and you jack that up. And then you can do your center tie downs right here, just like I showed you earlier, to give it a little bit more stability. But then you could lift it up, take the front end apart, take the back end apart. Works really, really well. For the Busa, this is a problem. Let me try that again. For the Busa, this is a problem. The kickstand does not come down on the lift. So if you're loading a street bike onto the lift by yourself, it's a little bit more tricky, and that's where the wheel vise would be helpful. However, if you're gonna do some front end work and you're gonna use a paddock stand here to lift the front end up, whether you're taking a wheel off, whether you're removing forks, whatever the case may be, I think the vise is going to get in the way, which is the real reason why I didn't install the vise. And I went with installing extra set of U-bolt hooks on the front so I can just tie them down. So I use these soft ties. I roll it up. I tie it down. It does kind of bump up against the side fairings, but it's not that big of a deal. And then once the Busa is tied down on the front, then I can put the rear paddock stand on the bike. And if I'm not doing any work on the front, I can leave these tie downs on, or I can take these tie downs off, use the front paddock stand. But I think that's about it. So I guess at this point, let me just like bring the lift back down and start from scratch and show you how I roll the bike up. It'll be just exactly what I said. We'll roll it up, tie downs, paddock stand, lift. You can't see it because it's off camera, but when you use the release pedal, be careful because it is possible to get your foot caught underneath the lift itself and the release pedal down here at the bottom. So if I had the grab handle installed, that would make this a little bit easier, but I don't. So we're just going to have to balance her. Okay. You could choose to redo the tie down straps. So when you take it off of the paddock stand, you don't have to balance it like I am right now. But I've done the paddock stand thing so often, I'm just probably a little overconfident. Next level. And there you have it, man. That's the end of the video. You know what to do. Keep it upside down. We'll see you guys in the next one.